and welcome back to another episode of the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living a meaningful life. Today, we're coming at you live from the ocean. We're here in Daytona, Florida, literally standing in the water right now. If you're not watching the video, it's beautiful. Got here right before sunrise, started fishing. It is absolutely incredible. We have a huge episode coming for you. Let's get right into it. And just like that, a seamless transition from the ocean to the couch.
Yeah. A little bit of a wait, but we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were in the ocean, Friday morning?
I think it was Friday morning.
It is now Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. We tried to record this episode a couple different times.
Yeah.
Different technical difficulties and other situational things that just didn't go right.
Well, actually, they don't even know who's talking. Who is this?
Oh, this is John Peterson, by the way.
Yeah, so we recorded an entire episode to release this week. Mm-hmm. And when you're podcasting, typically you have like a backlog of episodes because sometimes you record multiple episodes in 1 week. If you're only putting out one episode per week, then it's just naturally a backlog occurs. Well, we wanted to get out this episode like ASAP. And I went to edit this episode last week after we recorded the full episode and found out that there'd been like a setting messed up on the mics. And so you couldn't even hear us. And so it's just like, that sucks.
Yeah, dang it,
Rodecaster is the software that we use.
Yeah.
So anyways, we are back here 4 days later, enthused and excited to record this episode.
Indeed. It's been long awaited, apparently.
Yeah, it has. Let's catch you up on fishing. How did that go?
We'll just leave it at fishing. We did fishing. We went and fished and caught nothing. Didn't have any bites, but we were out there.
I had bites. No, it was rough though. We got there at like 4:30 or 5, or like 5:30 a.m.
About 6.
Was it 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, we were gonna get there at 4:30 because we thought that sunrise was at like 5:30, but then we figured out sunrise was at 7:01, and so we got there a little bit earlier than sunrise, which was like 6.
Right. I'm also realizing too that like we've given no context as to why we're even in the ocean or just anything. We have had just a crazy wild few weeks. We are incredibly scatterbrained. Mm-hmm. So I apologize for that. This is going to be a big episode. We're going to share a lot of insight into what's been going on in our lives. But I want to start off by saying, so we got there before sunrise. It's essentially the point I was trying to get to. We got to the ocean before sunrise. And I've never done that before. Never gone fishing in the ocean before sunrise. And as the sun was rising, I just kept thinking like, this is so beautiful. Like this experience, it's so calm. No one else was out there. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I was a little worried when we got out there and there was nobody out there. I was like, apparently this isn't a good fishing spot.
It ended up not being a good fishing spot.
No, not in the slightest. But we were using the wrong bait and we didn't really know what we were doing. So that was fine. It's all a learning experience.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that experience, and you're just kind of like, well, it was a terrible situation.
No, it was nice. It was nice to be out there and everything. It was cool to see the ocean for the first time in a while, but it would have been better if we would have caught fish.
Yeah, we will next time.
Yeah.
I'm fully invested in it. So that was Daytona Beach?
That was Daytona Beach.
Yeah, we are in Florida. We're in Orlando, Florida currently. We've made a big move, man.
Yeah.
A big move. And
temporary move.
Yeah.
Big temporary move, I'd say.
Yeah. We will be here in Orlando for roughly 4 to 5 months. Got here a little over a week ago. And I think we have a lot of gaps to fill in. It's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
It's been a while.
People have asked me over and over again, since we graduated last May from Wichita State, people have asked me over and over again, what is John doing? I haven't heard anything from John. Does he need a job? Is he okay? And
jeez,
people are concerned though.
Sure.
It's a good thing. Yeah, they're concerned.
I'm sure they are. Yes.
And so I've been busy. I've had a lot of stuff going on that I haven't talked about too much. And I think it's all kind of come to a pinnacle where I have since quit my job. You four went getting a job.
Had to.
And we had an opportunity come up and we grabbed it by the horns and we're running with it. So I think, John, maybe you want to jump in and kind of share your thoughts after graduation and where things were at for you?
Yeah. So after graduation, I thought, I I guess we were looking for things to do, but we were not going to go the entrepreneurial route. I mean, I think that was the kind of consensus as we graduated. We were like, it might be time for us to start looking for something we should, do and, get some money, maybe do some entrepreneurial stuff down the road or continue to do entrepreneurial stuff. But we kind of needed a paycheck.
We needed a full income.
Yeah, we needed income. And so we started looking for jobs and everything like that. And I found a job. I was back in St. Louis. I was going to work at a bank. I was going to be a commercial loan officer. And I was just going to do that. I was going to go do the 9-to-5 kind of deal, work my way up in the company and, probably have a pretty decent living. I mean, that's
you let that go.
Well, yeah. So we had a former partner through Player Card, I guess is what I would call them.
So you want to backtrack to Player Card?
Yeah, we can do that. But yeah, there was a former connection from Player Card kind of called us and was like, "Yo, would love to have lunch with you guys. Kind of have this opportunity, things like that." And you and I both really didn't think anything of it. We were just going to go have lunch. We'd had lunch with her before, and it turns out it was a pretty big opportunity for us.
Yeah.
And
it was funny because it was like that. It's like a game of chicken almost, where someone tosses something out. And John and I, we've done a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. We'll talk about that. We've done a lot of entrepreneurial stuff over the last 3 or 4 years. We've had opportunities come our way where it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a full-time thing. This is going to be it for us. It's going to be that thing that you can really sink your teeth into. And so to have, and it's never worked out really. And so to have someone say that to us and to be a lunch, and we were just kind of like, I don't really make much of this. It's a cool opportunity, but it's definitely going to fall through. And so it's kind of like with each step we were taking, progressing towards that opportunity, it's like this game of chicken where John and I are looking at each other like, nothing's fallen through yet. Are we actually doing this? Is it actually happening? And by golly, here we are.
Here we are. And I think it's actually happening now. I'm pretty sure that we're totally official.
I can confirm the money's been wired and the documents have been signed. It is happening.
Scary stuff, man.
It is.
But we're out here. We're out here doing it.
But I would say you mentioned Player Card. We mentioned it in episodes before, but we never really talked much about that and what it was for us. So I would say let's rewind real quick and then come back and we can move from there.
Fair enough.
But you and I ran a business together in college. It was called Player Card. It was a business where college athletes, due to a regulation change in July of 2021, the NCAA allowed college athletes to earn compensation based off their name, image, and likeness. So you and I looked at that and we said, well, no one's really doing that in Wichita. What if we kind of acted kind of like an agent or a broker, but we brought these opportunities to the athletes for them to partner with Wichita-based businesses? And so we started doing that, and we ended up doing it for a year or two. And it was a really good experience in terms of what we learned and the connections that we made.
Yeah, it really was a good experience. And kind of both of it was really our first real business pretty much. I mean, you kind of had done stuff earlier in your career and stuff like that. But I know for me, it was my first we were doing that thing. We were both feet in, trying to make it work.
And entrepreneurship's always so sexy when you're just like thinking, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to do it. And then you get a piece of mail or an email where it's like, hey, you were supposed to file this. Where's this form? Hey, these taxes are due. And hey, where's your projections? And you want to work with us? You want to actually get that first sale? Okay, well, where's your vendor application? Just all these different things where it's like, whoa, no one told me I was going to have to do this or where to find these forms or I was going to have to work with an accountant or that it costs more to shut down a business sometimes than it does to start one up.
Yeah, that's a eye-opening experience right there.
Yeah, so it was incredible. I mean, it's not like it wasn't anything life-changing from the perspective of you and I didn't, get rich and move off into some paradise fairy tale.
We were close, man. We were so close, just didn't quite hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but what it did do and what I think helped out a lot was it separated us from other college students. The fact that we had a business and that we were out taking meetings and doing all these different things, I think that really helped us expand our network and to land meetings that a lot of people frankly kind of looked at us like, how did you guys get in that room? How are you connected to this person or that person?
Yeah.
And I think that was absolutely huge for us.
Yeah. And I mean, we were in the press a little bit too, which was kind of cool. I've never been on TV before too much. So
yeah.
That was awesome.
We were on TV. We had different articles coming out. It was a great experience. They have the Shocker New Venture competition, which is Wichita State's business competition where you submit a business or a proposal for one, and then you go through in front of judges and like you have to kind of defend your idea and show how you're going to make money and all that different stuff. And you and I ended up winning that. And that was another great experience, another piece of credibility for us to lend to the business. Prior to that, we actually partnered with Wichita State University as like an NIL path partner, meaning that they would send their athletes to us and we could help find opportunities for their athletes. And so all of those different things was like, whoa, like we did this. There's no one kind of showing us the way. This is not someone else's business. This is you and I figuring it out.
Yeah. And figure it out we did for a while. I mean, we were actually doing things. It was kind of cool.
It was cool.
It was cool. We worked with a lot of good, reputable companies, and I feel like we provided a lot of value for them.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that was special and important about it is you and I have been great friends for 7 years now or so, thereabouts. And you can be friends with someone, but to work with them as a business partner, they usually say don't do business with your friends. And to have to see our relationship go from strictly us being friends and, working out and that type of stuff to having a professional relationship too, it puts a lot of strain on it. And it also is something that I don't know that most relationships could have handled.
It's a tough thing. I mean, there's been a lot of times where you and I hate each other for a while. And we just have to go our separate ways and kind of relieve some stress or decompress or whatever you call that. But we seem to get it done and kind of just make it work,
Yeah.
It's just like, we're going to be mad or pissed at each other, but we got to make it work, because if we don't make it work, the business isn't going to work. So
it was weird, like learning how to have those hard conversations and getting to a place where you can tell me that I'm being annoying, or that I can tell you like, yo, chill out. We're going to figure it out, like whatever the situation is, and having to have those difficult scenarios. And I think that I don't know that a lot of friends could go into business together, but I think it was important having had to do that with Player Card and figure it out, because now you and I are going into business in a very big way, and it's going to have to work.
Yeah, it has to work. I mean, there's a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
A lot that we can't discuss, but yeah, this is some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
This is some heavy stuff for sure.
We have left the minor leagues.
Yeah, we have.
So, so that was the first big thing that I think we got from Player Card. The second one was understanding time management and how to handle just a crazy workload. Mm-hmm. Because there was one point that I vividly remember where you and I were both interning at Spirit Aerosystems, which is hard work. It's a large publicly traded company, aerospace manufacturing company. And you and I were working 40 hours a week. And I think I had set up my schedule so that I could come in at like 6 and leave at like 2 and work through lunch or something like that. But you and I were working 40 hours a week. I was taking 2 online classes, summer classes. This was during the summer. And you were taking, I think, 3?
3.
You were taking 3 online or 3 summer classes. I think you'd one in person. And we were doing full-time work, part-time school, and running Player Card pretty close to full-time.
Yeah.
And so the routine was like, I was getting up at like 4:30, going to work out, going into the office, leaving the office, going back to where we kind of used our Player Card office, our makeshift office, and going there and working on Player Card, and then doing homework and getting another workout in, or just going straight to bed afterwards. And it was like that almost every day of summer.
I hated myself. I hated my life. I told people, I was like, this is awful. Like, and at the time it was even worse, because I was in the mindset of like, man, I don't even get a summer. Like, like I'm away from family. I'm away from friends. Like, we didn't go home for 4th of July. It was like, it was the grind. And looking back, it was great. But in that moment, I was just like, man, what am I doing? What am I actually doing? This sucks.
We were working so hard.
Yeah. I was like, man, I don't get a summer. It was good though. It was really good. And the weekends were great.
Yeah. Well, the weekends were even more enjoyable because of how hard you were working during the week.
Yeah. It was just like Friday came around, you're like, okay, maybe I have until Sunday night to get this done. And I don't have to worry about it to get done tomorrow morning at 6:00.
Yep. Just a little bit of a breather made a huge difference.
It did.
So that was really difficult, but a super good experience. Jordan Peterson has some sort of quote along the lines that I heard of, like, you should figure out how much you can handle. Like, how much can you work in one day? And the only way to figure that out is to get to like a breaking point of where you can confidently say, this is too much. I can't handle this workload every day. And so that is your threshold. So you back off at 5 or 10% to where you're just a little bit more comfortable, but you're doing way more work than you were before. Right. And I feel like I can say that summer was like an inflection point for me where I figured out this is too much, back off just a little bit. And now I feel like ever since that summer, my capacity for work and to get things done has been exponentially higher than it was before, but not at the breaking point of where I was that summer.
Right. No, yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, I definitely don't want to push myself to be there, but if I make it up to that point or a little bit below, or even if I pass that point, like sporadically, it's not going to affect me because I'm like, oh, I've been here before. You know, I've felt these feelings before, but if I get up to that point, I'm like, I feel like I'm fine.
Humans are adaptation animals. Like, we're built to adapt to our environment. And I fully think you and I are going to hit that threshold again. I think we're going to surpass it. I think we're going to look back at this moment and go, okay, that was my new line, and now it's all the way up here. And I had to back off, got to that breaking point, but I did back off. But we're going to be able to do so much more work than we even are now. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool. Whole different area. Yeah. So it'll be a whole new set of learning skills, and we're pretty much starting off with a blank slate. So that's cool.
Yeah. So I think that's a good background. Do you have anything else to add to the player card era?
Nope, not really.
Other than, again, we made some really cool connections, like just great people. And we have a lot of people listening that DM me or text me that are our age, maybe a little bit younger, even a year or two older. A piece of advice that I would give is like, don't be afraid to ask for a meeting with someone. And it works even better if you have a podcast, an email newsletter, a little startup you're doing. If you have something that can differentiate yourself, that helps all the more. But don't be afraid to ask to try and get a meeting, because you and I, just from asking and using that principle, we're able to get into some awesome rooms. We were able to end up doing a deal with a publicly traded company through Player Card. Mm-hmm. And that was by far our largest deal that we did. Yeah. And like, just because we asked for the meeting.
Yeah. And it would have been a lot harder to ask if we didn't have something to talk about. You know what I mean? It's so hard to go in and say, hey, I want to have a meeting with you.
Yep.
Because I want to create that connection or something like that, rather than going in and saying, hey, I have maybe some value, let's talk about it.
Right. And that's where, like, I look at people online and I see people that are doing startups or in the fitness community or having their own podcast. I think, man, that person seems really cool. They seem dialed in. They seem like they're in a circle where they get stuff done and it's just a positive, fun environment. And that's what I want to be in. And so I usually look at that and I send them a DM or I send them an email and I say, hey, I've got a podcast. I interview high performers. We talk about, kind of your journey, how you became successful, maybe some different tips or advice that you would offer to other folks. Do you want to hop on a podcast? And we do it in person, we do it online, and that connection point is made. And then the relationship starts to build, and you can integrate yourself into that circle instead of just looking at it online and saying, man, that's cool.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely done great things for the podcast for sure.
Yeah. We have some really cool interviews actually coming out here in Orlando that are a result of that principle. We'll talk more about it as those episodes come out. But we were even shooting one on Monday where it was like, dude, it was a crazy, beautiful place. It was a nice gated community. Security had to check us in.
Yeah.
And we're driving through the neighborhood just looking at each other like, how are we in here? And oh my gosh, this place is crazy.
Right outside of Disney, man. On Disney property.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So anyways, enough of that. Back to kind of where we are now. We have a crazy story to tell, and we're going to share some of the details. Others we'll talk about more in the future, but you and I have a mentor through Player Card who is an incredible woman. And honestly, she should come on the podcast sometime.
She should.
But
she really should.
She started taking you and I out to lunch, and I look back at that, and I almost feel like it was like a courting situation, Like, are these guys, I've seen what they've done with Player Card, could they actually be business partners? And so we started going out to lunch maybe once a month for a couple of months in a row. And she then asked, hey, we've got this opportunity going on. We've developed this real estate and we need someone to occupy it. And we actually had an idea. They actually had an idea of, here's how we want to fill this space. And would you and John be interested in this opportunity and partnering with us? And it's just kind of like, why us? Like, how did this opportunity come up? Why does this make any sense?
The cool thing was, at that point, it was writing on the back of a napkin, pretty much. And, you know, I was still evaluating this job with the bank and everything. And I was like, I was in such a weird place because I was like, this sounds awesome, but I've heard this before, right? It's like I've heard, oh, this is an awesome opportunity, you know, life-changing, whatever. And part of me, the entrepreneur in my mind goes, bro, just drop everything, do that. But the other part of me is like, okay, you got to be realistic here. This is not going to work out.
Right.
So,
and you and I literally kept saying that as we're doing just an absurd amount of research leading up to this business, trying to see the validity in it, trying to see how it would make it work and who needs to partner and X, Y, and Z. We just kept saying, is this even worth it? Like, is this actually going to materialize?
Yeah.
And then as months and time went by, it was like, whoa, like now we're meeting over in Houston. Now we're traveling to Dallas. Now we're over in North Carolina. Now we're in Orlando. And it's like, shoot, this seems like it's actually going to come out.
Yeah. And we tried to keep it as on the DL as possible. I mean, that was the coolest part. I think for me, it's like people would ask what I was doing, and it was so hard not to tell them, like, you know, we have this giant story and we have this huge opportunity that's going on, but I was like, going to lay off until it becomes more materialized and more cemented into, you know, fruition.
Right. And so what were you telling people whenever they would say, hey, you graduated, what are you doing?
I really think I was just telling them that I was still looking around. I don't think I told them anything that there was any sort of opportunities or anything. I mean, my immediate family didn't even know for the longest time.
I don't know if I knew that.
And it was just one of those things. I was like, I just kept it really, really silent, low, because I didn't think it was going to happen. And they all knew that the bank was I had told them about the banking job. And I was like, they were like, are you going to take it? You going to take it? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to put them off for a couple more weeks, make sure like nothing else comes in. And, and then, you know, it became a lot more materialized. We started getting things in writing and stuff. And I was like, probably time to tell the family and everybody like that. So,
yeah, I ended up taking a job after college. We'd both interned in the venture capital space. And so I was working kind of in a similar space with an angel investment group that I was running. And it was a super great job. I think it's great people over there. I think they're doing a great job of mobilizing capital and, you know, taking care of these different startups and helping investors. I think it was a great opportunity. And I told him off the bat that I wanted to go the entrepreneurial route in the future, but never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that the entrepreneurial route would come. I don't know. I was at the job for 6 or 7 months. Like it came about so quickly.
Yeah.
And they were cool with the whole transition. I'm still helping them part-time with that transition. But for a while there, man, it was crazy because I was working a full-time job, 40 plus hours a week, and working on this opportunity too, building this out. And there was times where it's like you work a full-time week and then you and I are flying out on a Friday night to a different state and we're there all weekend. Or whenever we went to Orlando to scout, I was here for like 14 total hours. Yeah. And then I was back in Wichita and had to get back to the office. Like the amount of travel and the amount of work that I had to get done, it was a lot going on at that time. But that was a lot of fun. It was the most fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. And it was even at that point, we were like, I don't know if this is going to happen, but we're doing all this research and it's actually becoming a little bit more serious. And it was really lighting a flame, I think, especially in myself. I mean, I was just sitting there. I was like, man, this is going to be so cool. You know, we're going to build out this concept and it's going to be so cool. And, you know, somebody's taking a chance on us.
Someone is taking a chance on us, a big chance, admittedly. And I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity. I know you are too, but we're putting our heads down, man.
Yeah.
We're going to make some stuff happen.
Definitely. We're moving mountains, some might say.
Well, we're getting it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is, it's going to be a retail concept. It's going to be in Wichita, Kansas. We're going to need all of your support, whether you are in Wichita or not. You guys can directly impact and benefit, or directly impact and help us out in many ways. And we'll share that in the future. But it is going to be a grind. We're down here in Orlando for the next 4 months, kind of doing some training and development and just different in the startup phase of the whole opportunity. And I'm excited to get this thing off the ground, to get it moving. And it's we're not just doing one man, we're doing 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them over the next 5 years.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so we have a lot on our plate, but it's going to be good.
It's going to be awesome. It's awesome. It's so hard when things aren't moving as quickly as you thought they would. I mean, we thought there was a possibility we would be open by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I don't know who had that thought, but we were all thinking it at one point.
Yeah.
And, it's just hard sometimes when things don't move quickly and you don't feel like you're moving because it's not physical. You know what I mean? Maybe information's being passed around, or you're, applying for this or applying for that and things like that. And it just doesn't feel like it's moving as quickly as you'd hoped it would. And then once you start actually moving, you're like, man, you need to slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, we're moving really fast. There's a lot of information here. So it's really cool to see the differences in the mentalities and the way things move.
Yeah. Well, and you and I are in the trenches right now. And I just keep thinking back to I wish, I would have paid more attention to my accounting class or my finance class or my business law class. And that's saying something, because you and I both scored, I don't know, pretty close to a 4.0, like really good grades, honor roll every semester.
Yeah.
But it's like in the moment, whenever you're just filling out a worksheet for class, you're doing an online lecture, one of those business simulators, there's no real meaning behind it. It's just, I want to pass this to get a good grade so I can graduate. It's not, hey, this actually matters for this year and for these taxes and for this contract and X, Y, and Z. It's so much different when you're actually in it.
Yeah, when it actually matters. And that's the hardest thing about school that I've actually been thinking about this lately. It's like, it matters to get the grade, but it doesn't matter past that. Like once you get into your own business, like what we're doing right now is like, this is going to matter for the next 10, 15 years. So we got to do it right the first time, because to make a mistake, and it's hard to portray that in like a classroom setting, I guess, just the gravity of making a mistake in something like that. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but a lot of times, a 0 here or a 1 there makes a heck of a difference. Yeah. So
did I put a comma or a decimal?
Yeah, right. And you just don't get that in a classroom setting, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird because I felt like Wichita State did a great job with their business major. I was entrepreneurship, you were business admin, real estate finance. Mm-hmm. I felt like I learned a lot from my classes, but nothing prepares you for the jump of actually saying, hey, I'm going to put a significant amount of capital and dedicate a significant amount of time into this. And now every little T and every little I means just so much more.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say, the biggest takeaway I had from college was our capstone class in one of our finance classes.
Yeah.
The business simulation game. BSG, I think is the business simulation game. We were selling shoes. And that was the closest thing, I think, to having a real running flexible business as you can get in a classroom setting. And it totally made you feel a little bit of ownership in that, because it was your business against everybody else's business.
Right.
So it was literally a marketplace. And it made, besides the grade, obviously, it made people actually care and want to win, which is how do you teach that in a lecture? You can't.
No.
You know what I mean?
How do you not fall asleep when someone's talking about the difference between an LLC sole proprietor versus an LLC electing for an S corp for tax purposes?
Right.
And a C corporation.
Just a bunch of words.
It is a bunch of words
to it.
until it has the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Man, that's a really cool takeaway. I like that.
Yeah.
We are still being a bit ambiguous about some things as we figure them out. It's honestly just because we are still figuring things out. We don't want to misspeak right now. And so in the future, we'll share more of kind of the full story and everything. We'll start posting more online, but we're coming into 2024 full steam ahead with some real opportunities that we're extremely grateful for and a boatload of work on our plates.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm excited for it though. It's really good.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get to do it with you too, man. Like we graduated and I stayed in Wichita and I started working the gig, and you were back in St. Louis talking about getting the commercial banking job. And it was kind of like, dang, man, like we had a good run, 6 years. Like you and I are still friends, but not getting to be, we spent pretty much every day together for 2 or 3 years at Wichita, just working on business and doing school and working out and everything. And now we're going back into that together. And man, I'm not going to hate your guts and you're going to hate mine, but there's no one else I'd rather do it with.
That's right. Yeah. It's going to be something else, man. It's going to be something else. That's for sure.
I hear a lot of hesitation in your voice.
No hesitation at all, man. No hesitation at all. It's going to be a good thing. You know, you and I have complementing skills, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'm not good at, you're better at me than, and that I hate you for it. And I'm sure there's competition, you know, back and forth between us, but we get it done.
Do you feel like that changed? Because I almost felt like when we first started working together that it's like, man, we have the same skill sets. We're not differentiated at all.
I don't think we realized the differentiation we had.
Yeah.
I think it was because you and I were both figuring it out. So it was hard to differentiate our skills based off of like what we were good at in the business world, because we'd never been there before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, when it was a software meeting or something like that we were on, it was like both of us were totally engaged at all times because we were just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now once we've kind of learned different, you know, our different skill sets and what we find interesting and what we don't find interesting, I feel like we can better
complement each other.
Yeah, I guess complement each other, or better recognize the tasks that we're better at and perform better on those.
I agree with you, man.
Or dictate, you know, I'm better at this, so I'm going to do this, you do that, get it done.
Yeah, just more like kind of organized.
Yeah.
We know what each other's got to do.
Definitely.
I got you, man. Well, cool. We got to go hit the gym.
We do.
And then we got to get up bright and early tomorrow and get after it.
Yeah, we got to be there.
Yeah, I got to be there at 6. Love it.
It'll be an early one.
Well, one thing I wanted to toss out, I'm looking at the 2023 numbers for the podcast. We've actually doubled our listenership from last year to this year, just about. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Thank you guys for sharing the podcast. Please continue to do so. It really does affect and impact the show. I've started a newsletter every Tuesday. I send out 3 takeaways from that week's episode with the guest. It's getting really good feedback, but there is a link in the show notes that you can click on to just put in your email. It'll come to your inbox every week. If you're not seeing it, check your spam. But I'm really enjoying doing that. Thank you guys for sharing the show. You can find me at the Jacob OC on Instagram, and the podcast is at Real.Conversations. And then John.
I'm at the John Pete. Follow me on LinkedIn. I think you just look at John Peterson. And I haven't updated my LinkedIn. This is kind of a side note, but I haven't updated my LinkedIn. I need to do that here pretty
You haven't
soon.
updated in a while.
I know. It's still player cards, so
yeah,
that's pretty cool. Anyway, go follow me.
Go follow us, man, on LinkedIn.
Go connect with me.
Thank you guys for tuning in to an episode of the Real Conversations podcast.
Adios.